Thank you for the kind words, Matt. Before I came up, Matt asked if I ever get nervous. He failed to tell me that I was going to follow Cheech. Wow, thank you. I hope you felt that ovation. I'm honored to share the stage with you. So just to open, I would love to take the opportunity to thank our incredible board of directors here, but also to pause and thank our hardworking staff for the Scholarship Foundation, for getting us here tonight and for all they do. As Matt mentioned, I am here very grateful to be able to thank you in person for believing in me many years ago. I was a recipient, as Matt pointed out, of very generous support for both my undergraduate work as well as my graduate work, my medical education. And I still remember, I saw the photo this morning, I still remember standing in the sunken gardens at the courthouse when I received that first award over 25 years ago. Fast forwarding now, these 25 years, grateful for the support I've received and for the ongoing commitment to education that the Scholarship Foundation exemplifies, I don't think it's been so critical or perhaps so apparent in these past few years when we think about the importance of post-high school education. I spent most of the pandemic focused on communication and education. Some of you have suffered through some of that. But I wanted to pause, I think, and think a little bit as I prepared my remarks for today about what that really translates to when we think about the impact on the well-being of our community and, in fact, very directly the health of our community. Across our country, across our community, we have a wide range in education levels when we think about our adult population. That range, that diversity, I think has never been quite so apparent as when we experienced and felt the impact of the COVID pandemic and the way that it hit different parts of our communities in very different ways. The convergence of the pandemic with as a public, with our really unprecedented access to information set a stage for absolutely phenomenal opportunity. We had the chance as a public to learn about prevention efforts, to learn about hotspots, to learn travel advice, and to learn information firsthand in a way that we had never felt before. But unfortunately, some of our community was also very vulnerable to both the access to information and the access, sometimes, sadly, to bad information. I'm going to focus the remainder of my comments on primarily post-high school education and really the reason I think we're all here today supporting that incredible opportunity, that incredible work. But I cannot pass by the opportunity to pause and to just take a moment to be grateful to our community's teachers, the primary and secondary educators who through some remarkably dark days logged onto Zoom yet again. Kindergartners on Zoom, high school students preparing for college on Zoom, some of whom just kept their screen black and dark all day. But our teachers who continued day after day after day to keep our kids going, and right now, while we're sitting here, are still working very hard on the back end of those couple of years to close the gap that has widened even before we think about kids applying for college. So I'll talk a little bit more, but before that, could we just have a quick gratitude for all of the teachers? So now thinking about the magnitude of the role that post-high school education plays in preparing us for the next pandemic, the next disaster. Not only does education prepare us, but it really directly and indirectly protects us. It protects us as individuals, it protects us as family members, it protects us as workers, it protects us as business leaders, it protects us as infrastructure holder-togetherers. We know, I did not write that word down. We know that high school education takes many varying forms. The Scholarship Foundation lives in this world day in, day out. We have students who go to technical schools, to trade schools, to community colleges, four-year universities, both public and private, to graduate schools, to professional schools, and to many other forms of higher education, to Cal Berkeley. In a set of quite staggering statistics, however, we've seen that the education-related gap in life expectancy further widened over these past few years. In other words, how long a 25-year-old is expected on average to live can be predicted to some degree by the amount of education they've received, both before high school, after high school, and through college. Of course, we know these are averages. There are very, very many brilliant, long-living, wise community members who didn't go to college. But the trend and the association between education and health outcomes is one that I ask us not to walk past. The data is fascinating as I dig into it and have dug into it over these last couple of years. There are so many interesting questions and variables to consider regarding the trend. As I talked about it with my 9-year-old yesterday, which I really did to prepare for speaking to you all, we talked about the fact that possibly college-educated people are less likely to smoke tobacco because they learned through classes or through college that tobacco might have a bad effect on their health. And that factor, the actual learning, the actual information, it plays a big role, to be sure. But what we saw through COVID was something very different. As my 9-year-old pointed out, no one by early 2020 had taken a class on COVID in high school. No one had taken a class on SARS-CoV-2 virology in college, and certainly no one had done a PhD in the epidemiology of different COVID prevention methods. And so, what did these college graduates who have better COVID-related outcomes, what did they have that helped improve their outcomes? To be clear, that actually decreased their likelihood of dying of COVID. I argue they learned how to learn. They learned how to be thoughtful and wise consumers of information. In a time where I don't think anyone could disagree, it has been hard to be a wise consumer of information. When we're not drinking through the water fountain, we're really feeling the fire hose of information coming our way. Perhaps we've now seen the most powerful example of our lifetime of just how much that skill set matters. Supporting higher education is important. Helping students achieve their desired outcome, their degree, their certificates, wonderful. But the lives that every one of you in this room affected and perhaps not only improved, but perhaps saved, cannot be measured by degrees or by certificates. The impact that the Scholarship Foundation has had on this community is bigger than that measurement. You continue to remind us that education matters. You remind us that learning how to learn is paramount. And you continue to tell dozens, hundreds, and thousands of us that our community has our back, knowing that one day, we hope we gratefully have the chance to reciprocate. Thank you.